Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Yes, so we are doing text 16 today, right?
जी.
Or
Yes, Prabhu.
16, yeah. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Na tatha hi agavan rajan.
Na
Na
tatha
tatha hi
hi
Agavan
Agvan
Rajan.
Rajan.
Uyeta tapa adibhi.
Puyet tap
Uyeta tapa
adibhi.
adibhi.
Yatha Krishnarpita pranas.
Yatha
Yatha
Krishna Arpita
Krishna
Pranas.
Arpit Pranas.
Tat Purusha Nishevaya.
Tat
Purushan
Purusha Nishevaya.
Yes.
Mary Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and the other methods of atonement I have previously described. Purport. Tat Purusha refers to a preacher of Krishna consciousness such as the spiritual master. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has said, Chhadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paye Chhe Keva. Without serving a bona fide spiritual master and ideal Vaishnava, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? This idea is also expressed in many other places. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 says, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukte. If one desires liberation from the clutches of Maya, one must associate with the pure devotee Mahatma. A Mahatma is one who engages 24 hours daily in the loving service of the Lord. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanas tu mam partha daivim prakritam ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim abhyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Thus, the symptom of a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than the service to Krishna. One must render service to a Vaishnava in order to get freed from sinful reactions, revive one's original Krishna consciousness, and be trained in how to love Krishna. This is the result of Mahatma Seva. Of course, if one engages in the service of a pure devotee, the reactions of one's sinful life are vanquished automatically. Devotional service is necessary not to drive away an insignificant stock of sins, but to awaken our dormant love for Krishna. As fog is vanquished at the first glimpse of sunlight, one's sinful reactions are automatically vanquished as soon as one begins serving a pure devotee. No separate endeavor is required. The word Krishna Arpita Prana refers to a devotee who dedicates his life to serving Krishna, not to being saved from the path to hellish life. A devotee is Narayan Parayan or Vasudev Parayan, which means that the path of Vasudev or the devotional path is his life and soul. Narayana Parasarve Na Kutaschana Vibhyati. Bhagavatam 6.17.28. Such a devotee is not afraid of going anywhere. There is a path toward liberation in the higher planetary systems and a path toward hellish planets. But a Narayana Para devotee is unafraid wherever he is. He simply wants to remember Krishna wherever he may be. Such a devotee is unconcerned with hell and heaven. He is simply attached to rendering service to Krishna. When a devotee is put into hellish conditions, he accepts them as Krishna's mercy. Tatte anukampam susamikshamana. Bhagavatam 10.14.8. He does not protest, oh, I am such a great devotee of Krishna. Why have I been put into this misery? Instead, he thinks, this is Krishna's mercy. Such an attitude is possible for a devotee who engages in the service of Krishna's representative. This is the secret of success. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, very interesting point here that Shukdev Goswami is mentioning. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other methods of atonement I have previously described. Now, if you notice this purport carefully, Srila Prabhupada is describing 2 points here. One is service to a bona fide spiritual master, and another point is the condition of a soul in pure devotion. Or rather, what is the mentality of a pure devotee of the Lord, one who has taken complete shelter of a bona fide devotee? So, this is very important discussion. As Jiva Goswami also says that one should not be lazy in the matters of understanding the scriptures. One should not be lazy in the matters of understanding scripture, considering them to be controversial, because such discussions actually strengthen our mind and help us become steady in our devotional service. So you see, so first of all, what is the process? Chhadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payeche Keva. Without serving a bona fide spiritual master and ideal Vaishnava, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing in the Adi Leela first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita about the position of Guru. Who is Guru? So you see, in the conditioned state of our life, where we are covered over by the layers of Ahankar and we have no vision of Krishna, it is practically impossible for one to understand Krishna. So one cannot understand Krishna by his own endeavor. Krishna bhuli se jiva anati bahir mukha. We have no concept of Krishna left anymore. So a self-realized soul is needed to guide us through the intricacies of material life out of this material nature. So who can be better than Krishna himself? Therefore, the Supreme Lord Krishna manifests himself as Sri Guru. So this Guru is manifest in the form of Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru, the initiating and the instructing spiritual master. And as Srila Prabhupada describes, that under normal circumstances, the initiating spiritual master is also the educating spiritual master or Shiksha Guru. So, and the spiritual master is then described as the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. He's the personality of Godhead who's performing the specific function of giving the knowledge of Krishna to the deluded living entity. So without taking shelter of such a spiritual master, there is no question of actually understanding spiritual life. So, Chakshudan dilo jai janme janme prabhu se divya jnana hridaya prakashito. So, Chakshudan dilo jai, one who gives this light of knowledge, to us, one who gives us this eyesight of knowledge, he's the spiritual master lifetime after lifetime. And this knowledge automatically manifests within the heart. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado, yasya prasadan nagati putopi. So by satisfying the spiritual master, one can actually attain perfection of life. So one important etiquette that is mentioned here is, that is worth noting here is that spiritual master is equated with Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that spiritual master is as good as Krishna. So one should not, like Prabhupada says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. One should render humble service to the spiritual master and one should make relevant inquiries. One should not ask absurd questions. Like one devotee once went to Prabhupada to discuss about his daughter's marriage. And Prabhupada refused. He said, no, this is not what spiritual master is for. Spiritual master is only to discuss about matters related to Krishna strictly. So you see, so spiritual masters, one should not demand knowledge from spiritual master. That is not the way. Because spiritual master is inspired by Krishna. And seeing the qualifications of the disciple, he would automatically reveal all the knowledge. Like many times Prabhupada's disciples, they would become very arrogant. They would demand to know about Radha and Krishna, and Prabhupada would simply refuse. Like Prabhupada would always say, first deserve, then desire. One cannot squeeze out the knowledge from spiritual master. One cannot, screw out knowledge from a spiritual master. One has to render humble service and that knowledge will be revealed. So there are, like Prabhupada says, being with a spiritual master is a dangerous job. Because if one becomes too familiar with the spiritual master, his spiritual life will be spoiled. So now we see so many times, it's actually it's a matter worth discussing that we see so many people who now say that, oh, Prabhupada, Prabhupada didn't know this matter, Prabhupada did not talk about that matter, Prabhupada did not give us knowledge related to this subject or that subject. So talking about Srila Prabhupada as if he's some ordinary teacher or something, is a very dangerous thing. Whether one is a sannyasi or a brahmachari, if one takes the position of a spiritual master very cheaply or very lightly, he's already doomed. So many times we see that, even very senior devotees, they are talking about Prabhupada as if Prabhupada was some kind of insignificant teacher, and now they have more significant knowledge. So that is illusion. That is madness, pramada. And such a person we should never hear, because hearing such a person will spoil our mind also. In fact, if you listen to YouTube, almost 80% of the speakers, even from within ISKCON, are Sahajiyas. They're just speaking some nonsense philosophies. They have no realizations and they're just speaking because of knowledge. So that is all nonsense. That is not going to have any effect on our heart. That's not going to purify us. We have to be very careful in our selection of whom we hear. Otherwise, our spiritual life will be spoiled. We'll think that we are progressing, but we'll be only progressing in terms of knowledge, not in terms of purification. So the position of spiritual master is very sacred, and it's a very dangerous position also. So if somehow or the other some living entity has been given that position, he should respect it very much. So now that's one part. So such Mahatma is very rare, It's not that Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru are cheap. They are very, very rare. Now, other point is, what is the objective in surrendering to Krishna? So the objective of surrender to Krishna is only Krishna Bhakti. It is not material comfort. It is not mental peace. It is not material happiness. Those things may come. They may not come. But the objective of surrender to Krishna is Krishna Prema, love for Krishna. So, for example, you're traveling by boat and suddenly there are massive waves and there's a danger of drowning. Does it mean that you love your mother, father, or husband or wife less because you're in danger? No. So you are in danger, but still that love would remain as it is. So that is love for Krishna. So the objective of surrendering to spiritual master, rendering devotional service, is to develop love for Krishna. So in fact, as one advances in material life, spiritual life, more and more, one becomes indifferent to this material body. When we are traveling by car now, for example, here in Europe, the weather is terrible. There's ice, snow everywhere. There's so much of problem. But no one is thinking twice about his car. Okay, what is my car suffering through all this? My car has to go over snow and ice and potholes and everything. No one thinks. They just drive the car. So a devotee also becomes indifferent to this body. Yantra Rudani Maya. So this is just like a material machine in which our soul is residing. So a devotee thinks like that this material body is insignificant, it is going to be destroyed. And anyway, it is meant only for the service of Krishna. So it doesn't matter what comforts it has to go through, so long as it is able to render its mission properly. So a devotee doesn't care. For example, pure devotee, spiritual masters, they are very much in communion with Krishna. They are seeing Krishna face to face. And still they are suffering within this material world. Because for them, service to Krishna is much higher. So Srila Prabhupada, he went to America. It was quite a horrible place. He was living with a family where the lady was a meat eater and she was keeping meat where Prabhupada was keeping his bhoga. And the person also didn't care too much. And then Prabhupada lived with hippies who were filthy. They were like animals, worse than animals. But Prabhupada was living with them. Then Prabhupada had to travel by air. So once Prabhupada was traveling with Pradyumna Prabhu. And Pradyumna Prabhu complained. He said, Prabhupada, when I am like my health is not keeping fine. I need to go to the US. I need to fix up my health. So Prabhupada said, yes, when I am traveling by aircraft, my legs and my ears are paining all the time. And for many, many hours, I have to tolerate this. But, I don't say anything. I just do because that's a duty we have to do. So that was Prabhupada's attitude. So we can see that Prabhupada was suffering terribly in that sense. The aircrafts, then the cars. Once Prabhupada even had a motor accident. Then, of course, his disciples are not really well trained. Like Prabhupada, in 1977, Prabhupada had said that, what could I do if Krishna sent me fourth and fifth class men? So you see, so Prabhupada was surrounded by disciples who are impudent, who are not qualified, forget about being pure devotees. So Prabhupada was suffering all of this, but he pushed on for the sake of the mission. So a devotee is not rendering devotional service because he wants to get out of hellish conditions. A devotee is rendering devotional service because he just wants to serve Krishna. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Bhajatam priti purvakam. Loving devotional service. Ashlistya vapadartam pinashtumam adrashanan marmahata karotuva. So for a devotee, there is nothing worse than the absence of Krishna. But a devotee is accepting that also. Adrashanan marmahata karotuva. Okay, you can just, just forget about everything. You may not even be present in front of me. So it's your choice. Yathatha va vidhatulam pato mat prananasastu sadeva napara. So you are always my master under all circumstances. So no, a devotee doesn't think about his misery. It may come. And sometimes a devotee may pray to Krishna, please relieve me of this misery. But that is not the objective of a devotee. I mean, when the misery is too much, he may pray to Krishna and Krishna will just take it away. It may happen sometime like when Srila Prabhupada was in Juhu. This Mr. Nair, he was a demon. He was a horrible demon. And when he died, Prabhupada was laughing. Prabhupada laughed very heartily when the news of his death came. And apparently he died quite a horrible death. But Prabhupada was very happy. He even recited that verse. Definitely people are happy when a snake or a scorpion is killed. So yes, Prabhupada was relieved definitely that this demon is dead. So a devotee may sometimes pray also. But that's not the objective of a devotee. A devotee is not here to make his material life comfortable. He's here to serve Krishna. So whatever is needed to forward that service, that is what the devotee is going to look for. So when we are rendering devotional service, that should be our objective. We should not think, oh, now it's 7 o'clock. This is my time to sleep. I can't do Bhagavatam. Sorry, Prabhu. Saturday is my family day. I can't go for preaching. That is nonsense. That means that you are not surrendered to Krishna. I mean, you're not doing it for somebody else. You're doing it only for yourself. So many times we see, especially it happens with Grihastha devotees, too many engagements. Oh no, my child has to go for sports. My child is doing this. My child is doing that. Prabhu, it's not possible. Yes, not possible. So that's it. So Krishna is also not possible. So Krishna is also waiting there. He says, okay, he's busy. Maybe next lifetime. So you see, surrender to Krishna means we have to surrender. I know it's difficult, but the material life itself is difficult. It's not a happy place at all. So one has to surrender to Krishna as much as possible, as much as one can try. So one should keep pushing the boundaries all the time. Like we discussed last time also, that one should never be satisfied in bhakti. Okay, now I have done my level, my part of service. This is okay. I don't need to do any further. No, there's no limit. There's no limit to it. Gopis were rendering devotional service 24 hours, always thinking of Krishna. So that is the mood. So bhakti is not cheap. Bhakti is a very difficult path. Durgam pathastat kavayo vanti. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
No, Prabhuji, very nice explanation. Thank you, Ji.
Yes, so shall we continue then? Sure. Text 17. Sadhri chino hyayam loke.
Sadhri chino yam loke.
Pantha kshemo kuto bhaya.
Pantha kshemo kuto bhaya.
Sushila sadhavo yatra.
Sushila sadhavo
Yatra
Narayana parayana.
Narayana.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The path followed by pure devotees who are well behaved and fully endowed with the best qualifications is certainly the most auspicious path in this material world. It is free from fear and it is authorized by the Shastras. Purport. One should not think that the person who takes bhakti is one who cannot perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, or is not sufficiently educated to speculate on spiritual subjects. Mayavadis generally allege that the bhakti's path is for women and illiterates. This is groundless accusation. The bhakti path is followed by the most learned scholars, such as Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramanujarya. These are the actual followers of bhakti path, regardless of whether or not one is educated or aristocratic, one must follow in the footsteps. Mahajano yenugutha sapantah. One must follow the path of a Mahajan. The Mahajans are those who have taken or these great personalities are the perfect persons, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12. Yasasti hi bhakti bhaganti akinchata sarvere gunanis tatra samastraha suraha. One who is unflinchingly devotion to the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of demigods. The less intelligent, however, misunderstand the bhakti path and therefore allege that it is for one who cannot execute ritualistic ceremonies or speculate. As confirmed hereby, the word Sada Vijaha. Bhakti is the path that is appropriate, not the paths to Karmakanda and Jnanakanda. Mayavadis may be sushil, sadho, well-behaved, saintly persons, but there is nevertheless some doubt about whether they are actually making progress or they have not accepted the path of bhakti. On the other hand, those who follow the path of the acharyas are sushila and sadhava. But furthermore, their path is auto aktabha, which means from fear, free from fear. One should fearlessly follow the 12 Mahajans and their line of disciplic succession, and thus be liberated from the clutches of Maya. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So, the objective of all the processes is eventually to arrive at the lotus feet of Krishna. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapajyate. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. To understand the Supreme Lord, that is the real objective of human life. That's the real objective of all the processes of yoga. Krishna is also saying, Vedaishcha sarver aham eva vedya, Vedanta krit ved eva chaham. That I am the compiler and author and compiler of Vedas, and I am to be known from them. Vedaishcha sarver aham eva vedya. I am to be known from the Vedas. Vedanta krit, I am the author. Ved eva chaham, and I am to be known from the Vedas. So, Krishna is the final objective. So, all the processes, whether it's karma, jnana, or ashtanga yoga, all those processes are eventually meant to lead one to the lotus feet of the Lord. But they are full of danger. In the process of karma kand, we see the story of Maharaj Prachina Bharishat. We have already seen this one. So, Maharaj Prachina Bharishat was an expert in rendering these kind of ritualistic activities. But Narad Muni indicated to him that even if one is an expert in rendering all kinds of karma kand processes, one will still remain attached to material nature. As Srila Prabhupada also warns that there is always a danger that mind can again fall back into sense gratification. Because the very basis of karma kand is sense gratification. Eventually, we want to enjoy the results of the yajnas. So we still remain hovering on the material platform, and we can again fall down from there any moment. So at any moment, mind can become restless, and one may break the regulative principles to enjoy the senses. Like we see the example of Maharshi Vishwamitra. He immediately became attracted to Menka when she came. So, because he was still hovering on the material platform, on a mental platform. So, karma kand is full of danger. And as we see from Vishwamitra, this Ashtanga Yoga is also full of danger. Gyan kand is certainly dangerous because one does not know what is the objective. The process of jnana, or which is most beloved to Mayavadis, is a process of neti, not this, not this. So if not this, not that, then what is the truth? They have no idea. So they may look very sober, but actually they may or may not be progressing at all. On the other hand, a devotee who takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he already has the objective. His prayojan is already set. Now his abhideya is to acquire that prayojan. Whereas for a Mayavadi or a Karmi or a Jnani, this process is very tedious because they don't know what is the objective. They are still searching for the objective. Many, many lifetimes they will take to reach that objective. Therefore, that's a very dangerous process. On the other hand, a devotee has already taken the shelter of the lotus feet. Samashita ye padapallam aplamam bhat padam punya yasho murare. Bhavam budhir vats padam param padam 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 yat vipadam nati sham. So here this verse is talking about it is free from fear and it is authorized by Shastras. So it is devotional service is free from fear because the objective is already set. So, like if a plane is flying and there is no indication of where it is supposed to fly and the weather is bad, then the captain doesn't know where he's going. Sometimes boats get lost in the sea. Like if you pay attention to the local news, sometimes in the month of monsoons, you will hear this news that so many fishermen are lost at sea because they go out to the sea and they don't have navigation or anything, and they go out to the sea, and during the bad weather, they completely lose track of where the land is. They have no sense of direction anymore. And then they get lost at sea, and then the waves consume them and they die. So this is what happens usually to a Mayavadi, because he has no sense of direction. He doesn't know where he's going. See, the path is dangerous for both devotee as well as a speculator. Maya puts so many disturbances in between. But for a devotee, it becomes easier because he's seeing Krishna. On the other hand, for a non-devotee, there is no sight of Krishna, so he doesn't know which direction to go. When nothing else works, the devotee can simply raise his hands and surrender to Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Rakshama. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, one can simply take shelter of Krishna. But Mayavadi has no such shelter. So because Mayavadi doesn't even know what is the objective of life. That's why this Bhagavatam says, Bhavam Budhir Vatsa Padam Param Padam. So it just becomes the whole ocean of material existence. It just becomes like a small hoof print of a calf. So in this way, for a devotee, material world becomes a very simple place to overcome because he loses all taste of material senses. A Mayavadi, an impersonalist, is struggling to control his senses. Karmi is actually indulging in senses. Jnani and yogi are trying to struggle with their senses. A devotee doesn't have any such struggle because he knows everything is meant for Krishna. So through the torchlight of knowledge, he's able to renounce his gratification. He knows that nothing belongs to him. So he remains free from danger. But this process means that one still has to execute devotional service under the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. There's no room for creativity in bhakti. One has to follow the instructions as they are given if one wants to make progress. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. But as regard Mayavadi is concerned, they believe in Shiva, isn't that?
Yeah, Shiva, they accept Narayan also.
Then
But they
how
have no
they
idea.
cannot.
See, Mayavadis don't surrender. There's no question of surrender in Mayavad.
Oh, I see. I see.
Mayavad means
What do you
worshipping
do?
a deity to become purified.
There is no surrendering.
No, there's no question of surrender.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So most of the time they want to become God or like God. So that concept is there in them, especially. So then the question of surrender doesn't come, right, with that emotion.
Yeah, so actually in Mayavad, they don't directly talk about becoming God. They put it in a very sophisticated language. Becoming purified from Maya, Jagat, Brahma, Satya, Jagat, Mithya. So becoming free from Mithya, becoming Brahman, becoming one with the Absolute. So they talk like that. So theoretically, they think they can become Krishna or Ram. But they at least they don't say that explicitly. But their secret desire is to become one with the Absolute.
But once they worshipping, you worship always a person stronger than you. Then that is almost like worship only. Worship means surrendering. Maybe I agree. You may not surrender. You may worship, but not surrendering. That I agree. That part I agree. But worshipping means they are dedicated to them. They take direction from them and all that.
So you see, in Mayavad, the concept is Kaivalya, attaining the one, attaining the absolute truth. So they don't explicitly say that they don't care for any deity, but at the same time, theoretically, they understand that deities are also a part of Kaivalya. I will also become Kaivalya.
Oh, I see.
I will attain Kaivalya.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, when you say they worship the deities. Worship matlab bhakti, no?
Huh? That's
Not
worship.
that.
That's archana. That's not That's not surrender. So you have to understand it this way, that like a teacher, like if I'm studying in primary school, like I know one day that I'll become a doctor or an engineer or something, and I'll be better than my teacher.
Prabhupada also said, Prabhuji, ki Krishna consciousness vibhajanti, not worship, vibhajanti. मतलब जो हम भगवान का वो करते हैं, जैसे हम भजन करते हैं, कोई बाबा याद करते रहते हैं, तो these lectures, the difference between worship and bhajanti Ram.
Yes, so there is a difference there.
ठीक है जी, thank you. I think from your point, the main difference where it lies is, I mean, if we want to talk about the basis, our goal is clear, and that's why we follow certain path to get to the goal. They are following some path, but they don't know where to go.
Yeah. So for them, the path, the goal, everything is the same, and they have to become absolute. But it's very vague, so they really don't have much clear idea.
They confuse their things.
Yes.
ठीक है जी. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So continue text 18. Prayashchittani chirnani.
Prayashchittani chirnani.
Narayana paranmukham.
Narayana paranmukham.
Na nishpunanti Rajendra.
Na nishpunanti Rajendra.
Sura kumbham ivapaka.
Sura kumbham ivapaka.
Yes. Would someone like to read? Yes, please.
Translation Prophet by Stephen V. Swami Prabhupada. Translation. My dear king, as a pot containing liquor cannot be purified even if washed in the waters of many rivers, non-devotees cannot be purified by the process of atonement even if they perform them very well. Prophet. To take advantage of the methods of atonement, one must be at least somewhat devoted. Otherwise, there is no chance of one being purified. It is clear from this verse that even those who take advantage of Karmakanda and Jnanakanda, but are not at least slightly devoted, cannot be purified by simply following these other paths. The word Prayashchittani is plural in number to indicate both Karmakanda and Jnanakanda. Narottama Das Thakura therefore says Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, Kevala Visera Bhanda. Thus, Narottama Das Thakura compares the parts of Karmakanda and Jnanakanda to pots of poison. Liquor and poison are in the same category. According to this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, a person who has heard a good deal about the path of devotional service, but who is not attached to it, who is not Krishna conscious, is like a pot of liquor. Such a person cannot be purified without at least a slight touch of devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See, now very interesting analogy. A pot containing liquor cannot be purified even if washed in the waters of many rivers. Non-devotees cannot be purified by the processes of atonement even if they perform them very well. You see, a non-devotee, what is the position of a non-devotee? Non-devotee means he is disinclined to the Supreme Lord. He has no inclination to serve. So even if he performs all the atonements, he still doesn't have a prayojan. He really has no objective. So what will he do even with purity? He will again go back to sense gratification. A non-devotee who is impure will drink liquor. A devotee or non-devotee who is pure will drink some cold drink. But in any case, he is not surrendering. He is not offering it to the Lord. A non-devotee has no concept of the Lord. So whether he is performing prayashchit or not performing prayashchit, he remains impure. His consciousness, the very foundation of his consciousness is impure. His foundation of consciousness is sense gratification. So such a person cannot be purified by any amount of prayashchit. For example, if you have a car and there is no petrol, you may clean it, you may put all the oils, you may put all the fluids and, polish it and do everything. It has no fuel. It will not go anywhere. If there is no bhakti, no amount of purification is going to help because the very foundation is impure. So one has complete Krishnera Bahir Mukha Bhoga Vansha Kare. So his Bahir Mukha, So no amount of purity is going to help him. What will Prayashchitta do? Because he knows nothing else. He just knows sense gratification. So he'll again fall into it. An impure non-devotee may perform sinful activities, but a pious, pure there's no purity, but at least a pious non-devotee will render some sanctified sense gratification. But in any case, he's not going to be liberated. Because at any point of time, his only objective is to satisfy his own senses. So any moment there's a discrepancy, he'll again fall down. Karma kand, jnana kand, kevala vishera bhand. So unless one has taken to devotional service, one cannot be purified at all. Because one is still hovering within the material domain. So no matter what purification he carries out, he'll eventually fall back into sinful life. Ato graha kshetra sutaptavittar, he'll go back to it. And by very nature, material life is inauspicious. It is impious. The foundation of material nature is jivo jivasya jivanam. So even if I am the most pious person, I am still harming other living entities for my existence, for my subsistence. I'm eating plants, I'm eating some roots, I'm killing other plants. So that sin is naturally accruing to me anyway. Because I am doing it for myself, because the pleasure is mine, the suffering will also be mine, the reaction will be mine. On the other hand, for a devotee, the pleasure is Krishna. His life is for Krishna. Therefore, the reactions that come are also mitigated by Krishna. So a devotee becomes free from this materialistic misconception. So without a touch of devotional service, no amount of prayaschitta, puja, path, kand, anything, nothing is going to work. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one question.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, when we say materialistic or however, these guys fall down eventually. So what is the difference between their fall down and a devotee's fall down in the sense के जैसे हम साधक है, right? There are habits we are trying to cultivate or things we are trying to do. There are sometimes we are doing it okay well, and sometimes we do fall down. We get up again, we try to do it again and again, and we fall down again. So what is the difference between their fall down and sadhaka's fall down then?
See, the difference is between a toddler with parents and a toddler who's orphan. An orphan toddler will get up, he'll stumble, he may fall, some dogs will eat him, he'll die. But if a toddler is with his parents, he may fall down, the father will pick him up, he'll again walk, he'll again fall, father will pick him up again. But an orphan, he'll crawl, he may fall down, he may be lucky, he may get up again, he may fall down, and sometimes he'll just fall into a gutter and drown, or some animal will eat him. There's no one to take care of him. So that's the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. A devotee is taken care of by Krishna. But one very important point that I should mention here is the devotee should not take it lightly. Namno hi balad yasya papa buddhir. One should not commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. When one has become a devotee, then one should try to minimize his materialistic activities. Actually, one important thing here is also that sinful activity means any material activity, not just the regulative principles. I mean, if a devotee is breaking regulative principles, then God knows what he is really. But even gross materialistic activities, they should be minimized. So not that one has a license to wantonly indulge in materialistic life because one is a devotee. No, the very purpose of devotional life is to become free from material misconception. So one should try to minimize that aspect of one's life.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what is the difference between karma kand activities and varnashram activities or varnashram duty?
Okay, that's very interesting. Karma kand is actually a part of varnashram. I mean, grahasthas do this. But karma kand essentially, like, in a very pure sense, karma kand means sense gratificatory activities. So varnashram means that by rendering this, like Prabhupada explained, that by doing the activities of charity and this yajnas, one will realize that they are very tedious and painful. Now imagine if one is a very lusty person, one is very desirous of associating with the opposite sex. Now, if one goes by the laws of Vedas, it's a very tedious process. And not only that, it's also very austere. Actually, if one properly follows the rules and regulations of the Vedas, Grihastha ashram is much more austere than Brahmachari ashram. Grihastha ashram doesn't mean that one can freely engage in sex relations between husband and wife. No, there is no such provision. Only for procreation. So it actually makes the process more difficult. So a Grihastha has to restrain his senses more than a Brahmachari. So by rendering such activities of karma kand, one realizes that they are very painful. So one becomes naturally inclined to renunciation.
So then why do we say that those who are doing karma kand, they are not, they don't become pure and they don't become detached? And
Because when you are living with senses, how will you become detached from them?
no, but then just now only you said, na Prabhuji, doing that also is a big austerity, and if it is done properly.
Done properly. That's the key word. See, because the spirit of enjoyment still remains there. A brahmachari, a vanprastha, or a sannyasi has no business enjoying the senses. They will eat whatever they get. They will sleep wherever they get some place. They will wear whatever they are given. The grihastha has a choice. So grihastha will, naturally, if there is a choice, grihastha will indulge to a certain extent. So living with the senses, that's dangerous. So therefore,
but somebody who is not able to only understand or follow bhakti, at least this is better, no? That, at least slightly, if they keep on purifying themselves, they might reach a point where they can accept bhakti at some point of time.
They'll mostly fall down. They'll mostly fall down because, see, when we are talking about the shelter of a pure devotee spiritual master, he will naturally take one out very fast from this situation. So one who's a karma kandi, we will remain enjoying, suffering and enjoying, eventually becoming purified. But material world is such a dangerous place that anything can happen at any moment. So there is a greater chance of falling down. So it's not at all preferable. If it's, if a cancer patient is given chemotherapy, he has to take it. There's no choice. So just like that, one who's too lusty, he has to take this position, but he's living in danger. There's no guarantee that surgery or chemotherapy is actually going to work for the patient. So there's no guarantee that yagya anushtana are actually going to work for someone. One may become more lusty, when one is indulging in senses will become stronger and stronger. So the position remains very fragile and dangerous. So if one is very intelligent, he will understand that this is not a nice thing, then he will leave. But generally, if he is not too intelligent, then he will continue this miserable existence.
But because it is a process which is prescribed by the Vedas only, na? And they say, like we have discussed this before also, that gradually they will, if it is performed properly, it will lead to purification, and then the person will start trying to understand that for whom am I performing this? Who is that person? Like Vishnu, the nature of God, and will try to understand God and try to acquire, and even because of the purification he has got, he can even accept that knowledge.
He can even, and if the process is done properly. But generally, it doesn't happen. It's very dangerous. It's like we are like playing with fire here. So as far as possible, it is best avoided.
Yes, for a person who understands that, he will obviously avoid it.
Yeah. So it is best avoided because it's very dangerous.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Yes, Anandara Prabhu, you have a question also.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The point raised by Mataji, like, is there a difference between Varnashram and Devi Varnashram, or both are going to be always same? Because when we see our ancient history, we also see that many times Varnashram Dharma is being followed, but the center or focus of their following the Varnashram Dharma may not be serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So
even among devotees, when we are discussing about starting of devotee communities nowadays, not unlike Prabhupada, they are going for gurukuls and everything, which are like that Panchakosh education and everything, and then they're thinking that this is right type of Varnashram education and Varnashram dharma.
Huh.
So somewhere I feel that the center, even though they may be following Varnashram after a lot of difficulties and planning, but if the center is not Krishna, then we cannot call it as Devi Varnashram, right?
Actually, Varnashram means Devi Varnashram. Otherwise, it's Grahamedhi. If center is not Krishna, it is Grahamedhi only. Then no Varnashram. No Varnashram. Ashram means what? Ashraya. And Ashraya of whom? Of spiritual master. And spiritual master means bona fide devotee. Person who is surrendered to Krishna completely. So if spiritual master is stepping in subject matters which are mundane, which are not leading to Krishna eventually, then that spiritual master is not bona fide. We see so many societies nowadays creeping up here and there. This society, that society. I follow this Babaji, this Guruji, Maharajji. So all that is happening. So on the face of it, it appears very pious, but actually it is covered atheism only. Desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. So of course, when we talk of Varnashram, we first talk about qualified Brahmanas. Brahmana means Brahmajana. One must be Brahman realized. One cannot simply become a spiritual master like that. One must have thorough understanding of the scriptural knowledge, and thorough realization also. Without realization, simply reading the books is not good. So, like today, like if we talk about Panchakosh education, where is that even possible? When everyone has to study CBSE or ICSE board or Maharashtra board, where is the question of Panchakosh? We're not prepared for Panchakosh, to be honest. Like Panchakosh education means that if a child is Shudra, then he need not be given a higher education. Shudra means that he should be beaten with a stick and put on the fields. Prabhupada actually said that.
Going with the same point, like what you're saying, so it is almost like 99% impossible to go with Varnashrama presently, because that is Varnashrama is a type of, even on the gross material platform, is a type of economic structure.
Yes.
So that cannot be followed until the ruler of the land implements it, or an Acharya like Prabhupada implements it, and it becomes a self-sustained society. We have seen that all these concepts are not working anywhere.
Yeah, if you have to work as an engineer or as a doctor in the society, you can't do that. So Varnashram means you have to go out of the city, establish a village of your own, take hundreds of people with you, and then establish Varnashram.
So I mean, it's not like, okay, now I take up a lot of money, make a backup of bank balance, and then I go and stay in a village or a resort type of thing, a farmhouse type of thing. That I am following Varnashram. It doesn't work like that, because all that previous karma you are anyway carrying. And then what about the next generation you're going to start with? So this is all very hypothetical. The next generation you have to upbring in that ashram only.
Yes.
And then don't train them with all this CBSE, ICSE and all that stuff.
No,
So
no.
once you have given all this type of education, and then that is not possible only to follow a Varnashram dharma.
Yeah. So Varnashram is very complex. One needs to study it very thoroughly. One cannot do it sentimentally and whimsically. It's a dangerous thing otherwise.
So without Varnashrama, then the question of Karma Kand also is very hypothetical.
Yeah.
It is a support on which you do Karma Kand. So it will not work only. Because everywhere there will be a flaw in whatever implement, whether you go for the yajnas, whether you go for the ceremonies or the rituals, there will be always a flaw in that.
Yeah. So if we properly want to follow Varnashram, husband and wife should not spend too much time together. So there should be there's no romantic life in Varnashram actually. Varnashram life means a lot of austerity. Joint family, village life, joint family, lots of labor work, lots of hard work. Not that husband and wife are sitting together and just enjoying life.
So although the scriptures are giving the pointers, but it needs to be very meticulously implemented. And it's not, at least it is not going to happen at our levels. We may not, like really a very purified soul need to establish something, and we need to strictly adhere with the conditions mentioned. Then it is possible. Otherwise, again, it collapses.
Any board?
Seems like Prabhuji's signal collapsed. Prabhuji is not
Muted.
on the call. Not on the call. Maybe a connection issue.
I think his laptop battery is gone up, so I think we can end the class then. We can meet again Monday.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, he's rejoining. He's rejoining. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, my laptop just died suddenly, the battery. Yeah. So you see, so Varnashram cannot be implemented just like that. Varnashram is a whole system. You know, you can't just buy an aeroplane and start flying it. You need an airport, you need mechanics, you need maintenance, so many things. It's like a railway system, you know, you need railway track signals, so many things. You can't just buy a railway engine and start operating a train. Varnashram means you need a lot of background for it. Like Srila Prabhupada said, establish farm community. Establish a farm community gradually, then it will take 1 or 2 generations to establish Varnashram. Okay, so does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
generations of following the Varnashram Dharma, then we can be situated in a situation where we will be able to do Karma Kand. But then if we are able to do all those things very nicely, then why go for Karma Kand? Why don't we go for directly Bhakti Yoga then?
Yes, then we can directly go for Bhakti and become completely purified. Okay, so we stop here today. We'll continue on Monday. So thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Dandavat
Dandavat pranam.
pranam ji.
Hare Krishna.